hoping this will be a quick live. I say that every time, and then 2 hours later, I'm like, bye guys, I gotta go. But really, this is like a one subject live because it was announced that Red Velvet is going to release their third full length album. I cannot believe we've had Red Velvet for as long as we've had, and we're only on the third full length album. That's crazy to me, but it doesn't matter. Now, what matters is what is the album going to be about? What is it going to be themed as? So, from what I believe, and correct me if you are a Revelove and you are more specific, the first album was The Red. And I feel like The Perfect Velvet, being the second album, is like we've explored our red side, we've explored our velvet side. So, what could possibly be the third album? And I just need you to know if we get this third album and it is the ultimate Revelove festival, I will revolt. We have waited so long for this third full length album. And honestly, I kind of thought that the Revelove finale was their third album. I mean, if you look at the length of it, it is fairly long. But no, this is the official third album coming up. And there's just so many ways you can go about this. And I'm just so scared that SM is going to fuck it up because we could talk about how SM has been fucking things up with Red Velvet tremendously for a really long time. So let's start with Red Velvet's best title track, in my opinion, Bad Boy. I know a lot of people think it's Psycho. In my opinion, it's Bad Boy. And for some reason, the mainstream press thinks that Red Flavor is Red Velvet's best song. It must be their most popular song in Korea, but to me, Bad Boy is the stellar one. It is the one that, holds the standard, in my opinion. Also, I think Peekaboo is outstanding, but just gonna hold it there. So, Bad Boy, perfect in every way. Perfect video, perfect styling, perfect sounding song. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. After that, it seems like SM decided we can't let Red Velvet get too popular because we have plans to debut another girl group and they're younger and the Red Velvet girls are actually grown ass women. They're super old, so we need to try to scale things back a little bit. And that to me is how we end up with the whole Reva Festival concept that we are currently living in today, which I am so sick of. Um, Now, we were fortunate in that we did end up getting Psycho, which Psycho was a great song. It is probably the only time that like classical themes in Red Velvet music to me felt like they were perfectly executed and incorporated into the music. But then, of course, Wendy's accident happened, and it was like, my God, what the hell happened? Why would you allow what numbskulls are working at the network, right? So we ended up having a bit of a lapse of time. And luckily, thank God, Wendy was okay and the girls were able to come back together. They came back with Queendom, I believe was the comeback when they came back together. Personally, I liked Queendom. There were a lot of people who felt like Queendom was a letdown, wasn't up to the standard. But I feel like when you compare Queendom to what we got after Queendom, Queendom was actually a pretty decent song because we got Feel My Rhythm, we got Birthday. We got some real kind of bum ass things, and so I'm really wondering, is this third album gonna be SM kind of like throwing in the towel on Red Velvet, like one last hurrah before all this shit falls apart? Or is SM really gonna give it a real go? One of the things that I love about Red Velvet, in my opinion, is that to me, Red Velvet really works when they let the vocals be the most important part of the song. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Red song or a Velvet song. When they let the vocals be the most important part of the song rather than the backing track, I think that that always makes a winner. So like when you think about Bad Boy, the music for the intro of the song is very minimal, whereas the voice kind of is like the real powerhouse of that song. You think about Psycho, it literally starts with like one instrument and a strong voice. I think about Red Flavor, it starts with the voice. So I think that that's really important that whatever this comeback single is going to be, it needs to be very, very voice forward. I think that we need to come back to uh, the underdogs and see if they'd be willing to throw us another song. I'd be totally down with that. Maybe Becca Boom can be coaxed away from YG to write a song for the girls. I will take anything at this point. I mean, there's got to be some leftover Bruno Mars songs that SM bought 12 years ago that they could go ahead and give to the girls. But I think we need to go with a non Korean producer. Not because I think that Korean producers don't do well for Red Velvet. I think it's just because usually when SM hires Korean producers, it feels to me like they try to hire either in-house or they try to hire inexperienced, and it allows the label to like really exert a lot of pressure on the producer to go with a certain image or a certain theme. And it seems like with the European and the American writers, they have the song and everything already made. The only thing that gets adjusted is the lyrics and then maybe a couple little production points, but everything else is like exactly the way it is. And I think that Red Velvet should be offered the opportunity to hear a song completed with no amendments at all and be like, this is the song that we're going to do, and then fill in the lyrics rather than them being told this is the idea of the song and not really knowing what the song's going to be until they get to the recording studio. So that's my hope for them. If this is an all red album, I would be surprised because, like I said earlier, the red was an all red album supposedly, and then of course the Perfect Velvet was supposed to be an all velvet album. So this definitely should be a red velvet album. Question: what will this album be called? Again, if they go back to this whole Reva Festival thing, I might just scream. I think if I was gonna go with a name for this, I might would go with Cake. I think Cake would be a good name for the album. It's basic, but their first single that they had with Yeri was Ice Cream Cake. And well, it was Ice Cream Cake and Automatic, but a lot of people don't see Automatic as the single. But they're Red Velvet. Red Velvet is a type of cake. Ice cream cake was really popular, so I think naming the album Cake would really make a lot more sense. I'm also wondering what kind of image we're gonna go with. I wasn't really a fan of the ballerina image that they had. I thought that the imaging for Birthday was pretty cute, but I hated the set design. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I really am hoping that like Red Velvet will be given something beautiful. Like I'd really like to see all the girls in Red Velvet looking their absolute best. Instead of trying to go with something trendy, I'd like to see them go with something classic for the girls at Red Velvet. Especially because they are older. Not that being older means you have to dress more conservatively. I think in a way to me, because they're getting older, the reason I'd like to see them wear something classic is because I feel like that kind of styling makes them look younger than when they're trying to put on all the same clothes that aespa puts on. Because even like some of aespa's clothes are a little bit silly, but they're young, so you get away with it. But like when they did Got the Beat, when it was Sulgi and Wendy with Got the Beat with Boa, and then the members of OGG and the members of aespa, I remember thinking like, I don't like how they brought the older members of the groups down to the younger members' levels for styling, when instead they could have let everybody have really unique styling that suits them as a person. And Bo is not old. Bo is not even as old as I am. She's fairly young, but I just remember thinking like this styling makes her look old because it looks out of place for who she is and what stage of life she's in. And I shouldn't be the one to talk about how people dress because you guys have seen me dress on here. I don't dress very well, but I'm also not a public figure and I don't have a team of stylists to make me look my absolute best. So, anyway, there's that. And then the last thing I want to talk about before I get off of here is number one, everyone's super disappointed in the Lizzo news. Like, what the fuck, Lizzo? Like, I don't want to believe it's true because I don't need no more bad news. But if you really are out here fat shaming and slut shaming and, making false accusations against people and pressuring people, it's just that's not a cool time. And especially for being someone whose brand is so carefully curated to be centered around safe spaces and body positivity and acceptance. to believe that those are not things that you actually live by, at this point, why should anybody listen to your music? And I don't say that as a hater of Lizzo's music. I thought that the little TikTok song she did was very cute. About time. In a minute, I'll get a sentimental and a woman to bump me up. I thought that was cute. Um, I remember thinking the Juice was a cute song. The One Man Great Till They Gotta Be Great. I thought that was good too. But I remember a lady I work with saying that she was going to go to the Lizzo concert when Lizzo came to our state. And I remember asking, like, how does Lizzo have a whole concert? Like, does she have that many songs? And she's like, oh, yeah, people love her. Her discography is strong. Me personally, like, outside of the songs that I just named for you, I don't really know a lot of Lizzo music. She's more known for the fact that she is constantly being bullied by fat phobic individuals on the internet. She's constantly being told how sloppy and ugly and how she needs to lose weight and she's not even trying and how gross she is and how dare she show her body. Like a lot of that has been put in the media. And so, you know, watching her at every turn be acknowledged with Grammys and awards and all this other stuff. It was really nice, especially being a person who grew up fat. Like, it's nice to see a big girl win. It really is. But part of what makes me kind of believe that the accusations being placed on her are factual is the fact that I grew up fat. And I am not skinny by any means, but I'm actually smaller now than I was when I graduated high school, which is crazy to me. And I remember, like, at that time, wishing that people would look beyond my size. But then later on, when I lost a significant amount of weight, being like, I don't know why other fat people don't try harder and lose weight. I remember having that thought in my mind. I'm a lot different person now. I have grown quite a bit. I am not as fat phobic as I have been. When I say not as, it's because I still have a lot of fat phobia regarding myself. When I think about my appearance, I still refer to myself in negative tones. But when it comes to other people, my prudishness beats my fat phobia by a mile. I am very much of the please don't show your underwear in public stance. And that goes for skinty, it goes for large girls. It doesn't matter. I'm not a public underwear person. But yeah, it's really upsetting that Lizzo would basically craft her entire career behind being one kind of person and being something else. And it begs the question, how many of the accolades that Lizzo has received over the years have been because of her actual music or because of this perception that she's a model of a celebrity that we should be celebrating? Because that there's something to that. There are certain celebrities in the media where we say we celebrate this person because they're a good person rather than because we love their music. There's even celebrities that we love their music and we think they're a good person, but we love things that they've done even if they're not as great as we tell ourselves that they actually are. So, a great example of that, and don't hurt me because I'm going to go see her in August, is Beyonce. I love Beyonce. I think Beyonce is super talented. I think Renaissance is an amazing album. I really, really do. But I really wasn't feeling the majority of Black is King. I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of it just wasn't my speed. And everybody was like, this is cinematic artwork, and Beyonce is rewriting the rules of what it means to be a pop girly. And there was a lot. There was a lot people gave to Black is King that I was like, I don't really see it, but I'm not going to say it's not there. But yeah, because we love Beyonce, we kind of let any criticisms we had be low murmurs or be between friends rather than making it the forefront of the discussion of the project because we had faith in who Beyonce is as a person. We also felt like this was a creative thing that she's doing, and eventually she's going to come back to doing things that are more mainstream, right? So, in that respect, there's a lot of the Beyonce mystique that's chalked up to our beliefs of who she is as an idol, who she is as a performer, who she is as a celebrity, the mystery around her, the good work she does for other people that have been made public. And so, yeah, Lizzo, I wonder if a lot of kind of the acclaim, the sponsorships, all the other things, if a lot of that has to do with the perception that we had of Lizzo being one kind of person when privately she's quite another person. Um, and they also, you know what? I'm going to say this too because this is important. When I'm in spaces that I deem private, when I'm talking to people who I feel will not judge me for maybe giving my worst takes on things, I'm a lot more candid. I might be a lot more offensive. And I'm definitely not as charitable when I'm having those conversations. And I would not fault Lizzo if she has certain people that she's around, that she has conversations that she would never have on her TikTok or on Twitter or on any other social media platform or in any other public setting. The problem with the accusations that she faces now is that these were not private conversations, even though they may have been conversations just with staff, just with the people who work on her stage shows. It's still a public conversation because these are employees and they're working a very outward facing public job. And so private conversations really can't be had with employees. They're not because there's a whole fucking HR department and there's employee benefits and employee privacy and all these other things that come into an employee employer relationship. So while Lizzo may have felt like I'm in a space where I should be allowed to be my most candid self, at the end of the day, if you're in a space with people that you pay to be there, you're not in a private space. Even if you're in the room with a sex worker, you pay that person to be there, therefore you're not in a private space. So I say all that to say I'm really sad about Lizzo's kind of fall, but at the same time, it's been said over and over again, and I'll say it one more time for the people in the back who didn't hear it. People's public personas are exactly that. They're public. We don't know these people in private. And there's a lot of things that we'd like to assume about our celebrities, but we really just don't know. So keep it in mind. Don't ever forget. And then the last two things. Apparently, Taehyung from BTS is going to have Min Hee-jin work on his solo debut. And a win? Question mark? I don't know. Because on the one hand, I think the stuff she's been doing with New Jeans has been amazing. I know she's a talented person. Hell, the shit that she pulled off at SM is legendary. So this could be an amazing project. It really, really could. But I feel like Min Hee Jin's wins for me have all been regarding women, not necessarily men, in my opinion. And so I really am curious as to kind of like her take on the modern male K pop idol. That's something I need to see. I need to see that because I'm not sure if I completely trust the vision. Unless Taehyung's going to do something super ambiguous, something that is super androgynous, in which case, yeah, let her handle it. I think it'll be cool. Maybe that's the reason why I put that picture out with him with the pearl necklace, because letting like, I'm fixing to get real cunty on the ladies out here. Who knows? That or else, nut on my throat. One of the two. And lastly, I want to talk about Angus Cloud because it hurt my daughter's heart when the news was announced that Angus Cloud died. And I have never watched a single season of Euphoria. What I know about Euphoria is literally like reaction gifs and people reacting to episodes when they were airing in real time. So I'm not even going to claim like I knew him as a person or knew anything in depth about him. But I will say his death left me very disappointed in the protective systems that we have in America because Angus Cloud died at 25 years old, and it is assumed via the 911 call that his mother placed to authorities that he died of a drugs overdose. He had buried his father the week prior. He was very sad, and people make mistakes. They make life-ending mistakes. But prior to his life-ending mistake, Angus Cloud had suffered from um, drug addiction issues. And the reason why we know that is not because he came out and told everybody, yeah, I've been on and off drugs and I've had close calls and this and that. No, it was because he had a manager who exposed his struggles with drug addiction in order to crowdfund a GoFundMe to hire attorneys to help him sue Angus Cloud to get money that he felt he was owed. This manager met Angus Cloud in a rehab facility as an employee of the rehab facility. Angus Cloud was in the rehab facility to try to do something, maybe to get better, maybe to finally address the problems, maybe to get out of some trouble with the law. Who knows? But he was at a place that was supposed to be a safe space, a space for him to get the help that he needs, a space for him to be able to try to recover some semblance of his life back, to get back the things that addiction had stolen from him. And instead, he met somebody who was, I don't want to say self-advantageous, but definitely somebody who looked at him as a meal ticket, somebody that looked at him as their opportunity for better things, and who ultimately didn't seem to care for his health while accusing others of mishandling Angus and using him for his public persona rather than caring about his health the way that individual should have when they met him in rehab. It's just super messy, it's super sad, and it's very disheartening because I I've talked about this a long time ago. I haven't talked about it much in recent years just because like it's not something I like to revisit too often. But my father, my biological father, was a hardcore drug addict. His drug of choice happened to be crack because we're talking about the 80s and the 90s. And my father finally got off drugs, and when he did, he tried to get integrated back into society. But he had been on drugs at that point for probably close to a decade. And after getting clean, he was on his way to a job interview and he got caught in the rain. He got pneumonia, and rather than getting treated, he thought it was a cold that he could get over, and instead he died. And that happened when I was super young, like a kid. And I remember how heartbroken I was because I remember thinking my dad finally found the help he needed. He deserved a chance at a life free from the drugs, free from the encumbrances that the drugs had put on his life. And he never got that chance. Uh, Angus Cloud went to a facility thinking he would finally be able to do something to get the monkey off his back, to be able to get these shackles released from him. And instead, he found another leech, another parasite, another pariah, another person who just wanted to use him. And eventually, he found himself surrounded by nothing but sycophants. Like, literally, his manager before he died was Sam Lufty. And if you don't recognize the name, think back to the Gimme More era of Britney Spears and why it was that Britney Spears ended up in a conservatorship in the first place. Sam Lufty is the name you look up, Lufti. So, yeah, he didn't have people in his corner. Maybe his family, but in terms of professionals in his field and people managing his career and people who were paid to look out for him, those people were looking out for themselves. And it's just a shame that there is no place for people to go who genuinely are trying to change their lives for the better. So rest in peace to that young man. 25 is incredibly young. 25 is probably younger than a lot of you who are watching me right now. And it hurts my heart. It makes me think of my child. My child is a young adult. So 25 is not that far away. And I can only imagine the heartbreak his parents are experiencing. Well, his parent, his mother, is experiencing. You lost the father of your child, and now you've lost your child in the span of a week. Unfucking imaginable. The pain must be just not even numbing. It must be excruciating. It must be sharp as hell. It must be a pain that wakes you up in the night and has you gasping for breath. My grandmother buried my uncle a few years ago. She still talks about it all the time, to this day, What could I have done to change things? What could I have done to help him? What could I have done? What did I not see? What did I not do? And my uncle was grown. My uncle was in his 50s. Your 25-year-old baby? No, absolutely not. So I just want to make sure I mention that. And just also, like, for those of you who are in a position in your life right now where there's something that you're struggling with, but you're working really hard to get over it, just don't give up. Find a source of strength within yourself, but don't give up. Don't let the idea that there are vultures all around keep you from thinking that there's any hope in your situation. Don't let it make you feel like, oh, well, I'm never going to be able to get out of this because even if I go to a place to try to get for help, they're not going to really help me. They might not help you, but you know why you're in the positions you're in. You know what the end goal is. And if you can keep your eyes focused on the thing that you need for you, and maybe find someone in your life who has discernment, who can help talk over some of these shadier situations with you, you can make it. It's not out of your reach. You can absolutely do this thing. I know it is hard. I know it's hard to live in a world where there's no trust. And I hope that everyone watching me has at least one person in their life that they feel that they can trust. Because you deserve to have at least one person you can trust. And I hope that you can appreciate that person and that you and that person can have a long friendship relationship and that that person can help you get to the place that you deserve to be. Don't feel like all of the users and all the manipulators are all you deserve. That's not true. You deserve way more. You deserve friendship in abundance. You deserve companionship in abundance. You deserve comfort in abundance. These are all things you deserve. But there are people out there looking to rob you of those things that you absolutely deserve. So spend some time maybe in the next year or so and start to curate your circle. Start to extract the people who you find aren't safe for you. Or if it's somebody that you don't feel like you can take completely out of your life, find a way to compartmentalize what information you're willing to share with those people so that you can save the most tender moments for the people who are going to treat those moments as such. Because everyone deserves to have that cocoon of familiarity and comfort and love. And much like a bird, you've got to build that cocoon twig by twig. It's not going to be right there for you just to walk into. You got to build it. So let's start by throwing away those things that don't benefit our cocoon and saving the things that are going to benefit us. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye.